And we're live. Good morning, good morning, good morning, one and all. Sorry for the bit later start than usual, but it is absolutely freezing cold today, so I have shall we say, well and truly wrapped myself up warm for today's foray into the wilderness, because I'll tell you what, it is absolutely freezing cold. Good morning, Jen. Welcome once again to the absolute freezing cold that is the UK at the moment. We've had a lot of snow last night, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on camera, but can you see the smoke rising off the river? That's how cold it is. That's how cold it is this morning. Whew. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, hi from Ireland there, good morning. Tis a lovely morning for it, I'll tell you that now. Because we've got... oh dear. Have we got some stuff to talk about today? But as always, I say, must indulge my my talk about, because I want to talk about America again for just a bit. Because as I've always said, sometimes talking about other things before we get into like Brexit is a bit of a salve, shall we say? And don't worry, we will be getting to talking about the absolute, even bigger mess that is Brexit. So don't worry, we're going to get to it. We just have to talk about, I think, what's quite interesting, what's going on in America. Because for those of you who've been keeping a close eye on America, we've got someone from America joining us, so good morning to you. Where are you from? The West Coast, good morning. You've probably been keeping an eye on, obviously, Trump has been losing lawsuits left, right and centre, and he's even paid, I think, for a recount that essentially ended up with Biden having more votes. But yeah, the insanity on the, or shall we say, from the elements of the Republican Party are just insane. But what's getting even more crazy is that there's so few Republicans actually speaking up, just saying, oh, Trump lost, that's it. But so many of these Republicans are pinning their hopes on that they're going to have and able to do a presidential run, because there was a very interesting rally, I think, that happened this week as well. I think it happened this week. Yeah, Biden's picked up more votes, even 2 recounts, yeah. Good morning to the other people joining us, good morning. So, if you haven't been keeping a notice, there was a very unusual press rally held a couple of days ago by one of the unofficial Trump team leads, even the Trump's former lawyer, but not former lawyer, according to the Trump campaign. What's her name now? Is it Sidney Powell? I want to say it's Sidney Powell. But yeah, they held this rally, and oh my word, it's insane. But at the moment, Georgia is a bit of a battleground, because there are 2 Senate seats up for grabs, and if the Democrats can take those Senate seats, and from what I've been seeing, there's a good chance they'll be able to get at least one. But what's happening here with the Republican Party is that he's literally imploding from the inside. And this goes back years, all the way back to the Tea Party. Because this is what was essentially left over from this stuff. It's unbelievable. Oh, you need to get the sink sorted out. I am so annoyed with what's going on with the sink, because I can watch those videos on my camera. They're in perfect time, and then I can go on to put them on to they're in perfect time. I upload them and then they're not. It's absolutely frustrating. I have no idea what's causing it, but it is absolutely frustrating. So I'm just going to start saying it's a stylistic choice. But yeah, Georgia is an amazing microcosm of just how crazy the Republican Party has gotten over these years. And it's unbelievable that you have these hardcore, Republican Trump voters. And one of the speakers was basically going, yeah, if the Republicans aren't going to stand for Trump, if they don't come out for Trump, yeah, we're going to absolutely just not vote for you. And that's incredible, because the Republicans here are fighting like a serious election battle that could basically determine who has control of the Senate. And yet here we have part of their major base in Georgia revolting against them, partly because of the absolute, lunacy of Donald Trump and the absolute ridiculousness that he's been building up all these, past months. Even before the election, he was building up, the mail-in votes are going to be fake. They're going to, fake the mail-in votes, and that's how I'm going to lose. So he's been building up his base for that for quite some time. And you can only just see what happens, from all this. It's just, it's absolutely crazy. But that's the way the situation is. It's unbelievable, and I think so. You are right. Someone there just mentioned the parallels between, like, the Tory party and the ERG. Not so much the ERG, but I think the parallels between them and essentially the Brexit voters are very well and truly apt in this situation. Because as I've always said, when Brexit starts to happen, there's going to be a lot of very upset people that this didn't happen the way they wanted it to happen, or they're not seeing the benefits that were promised. And that's going to come very, very quick and fast, I think, starting from next year. So you've already had, I don't know if you saw, the Financial Times did an interview with one of the top fishing moguls in the UK. And he turned around and said that he'd been completely brainwashed by the Leave campaign. I mean, that's unbelievable. Unbelievable. But, and this is exactly what you're getting with the, those voters in Georgia saying that they're not going to vote for, the Republicans. That's a lot of anger is going to turn on them. Good morning from Finland. Good morning to other people that are joining us as well. Do remember to hit the like button on your way in as well. Will help us get more people in. We can have more conversations, more people. That's what we like to see. Yep, you are right. Ordinary people will never get to see the benefits of Brexit. But that's part of the dream that a lot of people, are even sold. And the Americans, I mean, we've got someone in from America here, and I'm sure they'll be able to tell you all about, the American dream. The Republicans have never done anything for the poor people of America at all. But, thousands of very poor, lower class people in America still vote overwhelmingly Republican. And there are, numerous reasons for that, but you can see a lot of the parallels going on in this, and it's just absolutely unbelievable. Oh, Dalmatians. I do love those Dalmatians, it's so cool. We see them quite often. Oh, hang on, we'll go this way because there's a massive puddle there. But yeah, it's one of the big things you see about populism. Sooner or later, you can talk about, the fantasies of what you intend to achieve or what you think should indeed happen. But yeah, don't worry about the Brexit talks. We're going to get to them in a bit. I'm just preparing myself by talking about what's going on in America. You've got to allow me this indulgence every so often, but don't worry, we'll get to it. So yeah, the goings on in America are almost, I would say, parallel to probably what we are going to see next year in regard to a lot of especially the Brexit supporters, because the Brexit supporters are going to throw an absolute fit. I mean, you've already seen them, much of them, complain about the fact that they've got houses and property in the EU, but they're not going to be able to go to them as often. And you're like, we told you this from the very beginning. Do you not understand what we were telling you? Or did you just not believe us? And of course, that all comes back to Project Fear. And the whole thing of populism, of telling people what it would like to be, not what the reality actually is. And of course, this brings us... Oh, greetings from Poland. Good morning. And of course, this brings us very, very swiftly on to Brexit. Because, my word, my word, I've always said I was hoping for a deal. I'm not going to lie, I was always hoping that there would be some sort of deal, because even a very skinny deal could potentially be better than a no deal. And at least it might ease somewhat of the economic harm, or what, shall we say, economic self-harm, shall we say, because that's the correct way to phrase it, that we are doing to ourselves in this situation. So, you just can't believe it. But on Wednesday, I was very, very slightly optimistic, because a lot of the newspapers were reporting that pizza had been ordered into one of the negotiating places. So there was very clear indication that they were working through the night to try and get this sorted out. So I was sort of hopeful that maybe Thursday or even Friday, we might hear the rumblings of, oh, we've finally done it, we've got a deal. And hooray, hooray, we have a deal of some sort. However, that's not what happened. So I think we need to fill you in on just what's been happening in the UK, because this has really added to the EU's absolute anger at what essentially the UK has been doing. So, first of all, on Thursday morning, there was announced that the internal market bill was, after being heavily defeated in the House of Lords and being stripped from essentially the clauses that would break international law, Jacob Rees-Mogg got up in the House of Commons and announced that those clauses would be put back into the bill and then voted on again. So you can understand that already the EU is quite frustrated at them breaking international international law. But that's not just one law we've got to look at, because from all the rumours that have been going around, there is now something called the taxation bill, which we haven't yet seen anything about. So we don't know what's actually in this bill. All we do know is that, from what we've heard, this bill will once again set to break the international and withdrawal agreement that we have signed. So that's not just one bill, that's two bills that are on the docket that the EU have said, what are you doing? You've signed this agreement. You are now trying to pass legislation that breaks this agreement that you have signed, that you have said that you will follow. You know, what are you doing? So there was that happened this week, and that is why the EU have said, if you are going to do this, we are going to put more stuff into these negotiations, because we can see that you are trying to break and essentially have your cake and eat it, or cakeism, as it's often called, and have access to the single market. And the EU have been very, very clear from day one that unless we submit to the rules and regulations in the single market, Britain will not be allowed full access. Plain and simple. And that is the state of play that we are in. Britain has once again angered and infuriated the EU by saying that it can introduce legislation and laws that essentially break international agreements it has already signed. And I'd say I'd be surprised, but at this point I'm really not. This is what really the Brexiteers wanted from day one. They really, really want a no deal, because that's their dream goal. They can have this, quote, clean break from the EU, even though, you know, they spent an entire election cycle and even an entire referendum saying that, oh, we won't leave without a deal, we'll get one. What's this, Bakura? Yeah, what's it going to take for the people to realise that the EU are better than us? Yeah, that is indeed the case on this. Because what's essentially going to happen is that these talks are not going to end, and it's going to go into trade talks, and the same situations are going to happen. And then people like Michael Gove and the hardcore Brexiteers are going to try and blame the EU for wanting us to keep them under the thumb. But here's the thing. If we want access, the type of access that we are talking about, of access to the single market, be able to sell goods and stuff through the, you know, through the port at no tariffs or anything like that, then we have to obey by the regulations of the single market. And bear in mind, it's not just the EU now, it is Canada as well. Because obviously last week, the Brexiteers were once again jumping for joy that they got this amazing Canada trade deal. And as I said last time, it's not a trade deal, it's a rollover deal that Canada will say ends when it says. So essentially, if we break the regulations and things like that with the EU, Canada can just turn around and say, well, you're not following the EU's regulations, you can say goodbye to the rollover deal. And then we start trading with Canada back on WTO terms. And once again, I have to say, why are we so, fascinated with getting this Canada deal? Britain and the UK does more trade with Ireland than it does Canada. I think Canada's about 8 million. Ireland, just by itself, is something like 36 million. Tell me, who should we be prioritizing getting trade deals with? There's so much about Brexit where common sense and expertise are just being ignored, and are being just flat out ignored because the Brexiteers have this view of, this fantasy Britain that they think could potentially exist. And this is why I'm going to try and track down, see if I can try and track down a copy of Britannia Unchained. Now, I don't know if I've talked about Britannia Unchained before, but this was written way back a couple of years ago by Kirk Katang, Dominic Raab, Liz Truss, Priti Patel. I can't remember who they were now, but at the time there was these new rising MPs who decided to write a book on economic theory, and it was hailed by the CEO of Tesco as being absolutely amazing. So who is this? Callum. Who's your local MP? My local MP is Dan Jarvis. We very, and I must say very narrowly avoided getting a Brexit Party MP in Barnsley, and I mean very narrow. Dan Jarvis was only ahead by about 2,000 votes, and that was incredibly close. We were that close, and thank God we dodged that bullet, because the woman who was running as a MP for the Brexit Party, if you want to go look them up, is the wife of the founder of the Democrats and Veterans Party. Yep. Fun little party, but yeah, we dodged that bullet very nicely. So, hang on, this was Bakura again, because we're just going to go through some of your questions. Bakura asked a couple of minutes ago, my sister is a teacher and hated Michael Gove when he was education secretary because he changed everything for no reason because he thought he knew more than the teachers. Oh, look forward to when he's prime minister, Bakura. Yeah, it's going to be a hoot. Dr. Slump, we have no sun shining in Mallorca. We have the same weather as Bowler Hatman's weather here. Prime Bird, I think that is. Yeah, Bowler Hatman. Don't you read sections of Britannia Unchained in spring of 2008? I did go through some of it, but never the full book. We've done videos on like sections talking about it. But I think that to understand and put in context of what a lot of these hardcore Brexit free market fundamentalist zealots are trying to achieve into the UK, I think that, as Sun Tzu would said, know your enemy and you can win every time. So I think it's definitely going to be worth, shall we say, investing in, even though I've read some of the reviews and all the reviews are pretty much 1 star. Yeah, they all say how terrible it is, but it's worth going to read. And I'm sure that a lot of people out there haven't read the book themselves, so it's going to be very interesting and make for very interesting reading going through. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating. Yeah. Someone just said the Dunning-Kruger effect in action. Yes, that is Michael Gove. And what's funny is, actually, I don't know if you've seen very, very recently, Michael Gove has been saying how we need to pay attention to all the experts and all the data and all the evidence of like COVID for this for these elections. And you only have to rewind the clock back a couple of years to see him saying, oh, we've had enough of experts and all these facts about Brexit, you know, bringing up pretty much all the stuff we talk about on a weekly basis, saying, yeah, you do realise there's going to be a problem here, right? And then them turning around and say, oh no, that's just Project Fear. Well, Project Fear is becoming Project Reality, because as I always like to say, when Brexit meets reality, reality always wins. Have to forgive me walking across a very, very muddy field. Oh. Oh well, at least the duck's happy. But yeah, it's a situation really we all potentially saw happening, and all said, you know, it's so funny because we've got so many people on the left, and me included, really, who went, there's no way our government is going to be that stupid. There's no way. And in fact, I don't know if you saw the fallout. Oh, thank you very much. Oop. Thank you very much for the £5 there from Helder Loops. Don't worry, I will. But thank you very much for your support there. So yeah, we've got a very, very strange situation going on. Every stockpile. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. We're going to definitely talk about next week. One of the heads of the UK's top logistics firms. So this isn't no one just saying this. This is a guy who knows what he's talking about when it comes to logistics, right? You've got him turning around and saying the UK can expect from January of next year weeks, if not months, of supply chain disruption when it comes to food. And yet, do you remember I can't remember which Brexiteer said it, but he basically said there will be ample supplies of food. And if you may remember, couple of weeks, in fact last week, we went over the fact that the UK does not keep a strategic reserve of food, but they keep a strategic reserve of oil, because it relies, or as the government said, going over that, the government said that it relies on the industry, meaning the supermarkets, to keep the flow of food going. I can very easily see next year food shortages. And I know for full well there's going to be so many people who are going to be in so much trouble when that happens. And I know people in this town that could go hungry. because of that. Because they've lost their jobs, they've, or they are employed, but they earn so little from their jobs that they're already struggling to keep, food on the table, and are having to make, unfortunately, very hard choices of, I'm going to have to skip, so many meals this week, because if I don't, then my kids aren't going to be able to eat. And unfortunately, that is an all too similar story throughout much of the North and throughout much of the UK. There is going to be some serious consequences. And if you may remember, Operation Yellowhammer, and of course recently we had the other documents saying how the government were preparing for this. For riots and general strikes, and then you had what one of the head guys from the big logistic companies who we just mentioned a couple of moments ago said that Britain is really looking at a worst case scenario. This is so worrying, and I'm so shocked, to be honest, that we've gotten to this point. I really am, but there's no other way to describe it. We've gotten to this point through, and been brought to this point through 10 years of austerity, and we are going to see austerity on steroids next year, because if you think Rishi Sunak has finished not only borrowing, but should we say cutting budgets, you haven't seen nothing yet. Like I say, the best thing and best gift Father Christmas could bring to the UK would be an extension. But again, we'll have to see, but that might be on the table. Again, I'm just lost for words, really. I hope Boris Johnson is not that insane enough to go, well, we're going to go for a no deal. I really do hope that some part of him realises the mess that he's governed himself into. And hopefully realise that they need an extension. Because, it's going to upset a lot of Brexiteers, but it's going to alleviate a lot of hardship from a lot of businesses and a lot of people in the UK. And someone just said there, I think he's insane enough. I hope not. I really hope not. But yeah, we're looking at a no-deal Brexit with no deal with the EU, with what the Brexiteers, and bizarrely, actually, really when I think about it, bizarrely, there is a bit of a slight silver lining on this. Because the Eurosceptics and the Brexiteers themselves have been constantly saying, not only before the referendum, during the referendum, and after the referendum, how easy and great all this would be. Well, guess what? It's not turning out quite like that, is it, guys? So they have, and are going to have, and this is what we have to make sure that happens next year, that we hold all those people to account, that we hold Nigel Farage to account, that we hold Boris Johnson to account, that we hold Michael Gove to account. Because they all said how easy this would be, and how we held all the cards, and that there was this absolute, quote, fantastic opportunities available for the UK after Brexit, and yet not a single one of them can actually explain what these incredible benefits are. And of course, as you know, we've gone over the Japan deal a couple of times and just how awful and terrible the Japan deal actually is. For example, the Brexiteers continuously complain about taking rules and laws from the EU. Well, in that very same trade deal, Liz Truss has signed and says he's so fantastic. We have to say, thank you for your support there, Nico. We have to say that there is privacy changes that make our privacy protections weaker under that trade deal. So why are the Brexiteers not outraged that we are taking, laws and rules from Japan? I thought that was the whole reason we were doing Brexit, was to become a sovereign country. Apparently not, if you're willing to sign a trade deal. Because that's what I worry about. That all these trade deals that we're going to sign are going to be essentially back way doors to deregulation of this country. And we are looking at the deregulation of environmental standards, data protection, which is something we have never ever talked about really on this channel. But I know a guy who is a digital lawyer and specializes in this stuff. And I would love to try and do an interview with him, getting on this channel, because digital stuff, there is so much stuff that is going to cause problems starting from next year. So much stuff. For starting, that there was a decision just a couple of months ago called Siemens, I think it was Schleiman's or Schleiman's 2, which essentially put a digital wall between the EU and the US. That same wall, come January the 1st, is going to be put along the English Channel to separate the UK from the EU. That is going to have huge problems for our service industries that deal in data. That is going to be huge. So that's just a coming problem that we haven't even discussed. And I guarantee you, there are going to be problems. There are going to be so many unforeseen problems that Brexit brings up. And one of the things that we heard the Brexiteers so wonderful about. Oh, good morning from the Czech Republic. Good morning to you there. One of the things the Brexiteers were so elated about all this COVID was because they were so wonderful for it, because they could hide all the bad effects from Brexit under COVID. And that's what they're going to try and do. They're going to say, oh no, that wasn't Brexit. That was COVID. It's COVID because you're out of business, not because you can't trade with the EU anymore. In fact, should I tell this story or not? No, I will. Because I'm not sure whether this guy's going to screw me over or not. But a couple of weeks ago, I started just a temporary job with a company. I'm not going to say which company. Although in the future I might do, depending how hard this guy wants to screw me over. And one of the things was, one of the customers who phoned up for a motorcycle part was from Southern Ireland. And he goes, oh yes, I want to get this motorcycle part out and shipped before Brexit. And the guy who runs the company was, after he put down the phone, I don't understand why he's so desperate to get the part over so quickly. And you're like, yeah, the guy doesn't want to pay the astronomical fees that he's going to have to pay starting from the 1st of January. He does not want to have to pay the import cost. And the bizarre thing is, they do so much business, not only here in the UK, but with people in Europe, and they are not prepared for Brexit. And I didn't bring this up at all, but they are going to be so screwed come the 1st of January. because they are going to have so much problems, so many problems. But yeah, like I say, that's what happens when you hire someone for marketing purposes rather than, should we say, import-export purposes. But yeah, such a bizarre situation. I guarantee you, he is not alone. There's going to be so many businesses that find themselves in such problems and become so uncompetitive because they now have to pay imports on so many things that they never had to before, and it's going to make British businesses so more productive. Oh, someone's leaving. Bye bye, Dr. Slump. It's going to be so bad. It really is. It's going to be an absolute disaster. You thought there was going to be a no deal from the beginning because they were going to be because they were that insane. Oh, I had hoped that they wouldn't be that insane, to be honest. I had hoped that calmer heads would prevail, but unfortunately, because of the more recent election, Boris Johnson essentially expunged all those calmer heads from the party. Because, as we've often said before, one of the big things about Brexit really was a Tory civil war, essentially about how much and how big a role government should have in regulating the market. And that's really what's going on. You know, the free market fundamentalists are now in the party. That's why I want to try and get Britannia Unchained. And I'm going to try and see if I can't get a second-hand copy. If not, I'm going to have to put down £15 to buy a brand new copy. And I really don't want to have to do that, to be honest. Because that means I'm giving money to Brexiteers. I really don't want to do that. But yeah, that's the situation that we're in, and it's just, you know, sometimes I just don't know, as I've said before, sometimes I just don't know what to say to you on stuff like this. But for Boris Johnson to literally bring Britain to the cliff edge, to try and get so much bluff and gander over this is clearly insane. Absolutely insane. Yeah, just words fail you. Yeah, you just don't know what to say. Because this is just... It should be common sense stuff. It really should. It really should, but this is unfortunately where we are. It's just hard to really explain, really, how we've gotten to such a position. And well, actually, really, it's more simple than you think. The real reason why we're in this position is because of the Brexiteers pushing their, you know, crazy fantasy of what they want Brexit to be, and it can't. There you go. Anyway, Son of Viking. A trade deal. Oops, let me put my teeth in. A trade deal has been technically impossible for 2 years now. What is being called a deal now is what the EU tends to broker with dodgy developing nations run by dictators. Yeah. That is so. Yeah, can't disagree with that. Oh, that's the other thing that's been happening this week. Boris Johnson wants to get rid of the Fixed Term Parliament Act. So you say dictator. Boris Johnson's getting rid of that. So now, instead of having essentially a parliament called every 4 to 5 years, Boris Johnson now gets to dictate when he gets to call the next election. Wonderful. And of course, once again, we live in hope of that our politicians will follow the rules and follow the codes. But, you know, not only Trump has shown that, but you've had Boris Johnson continuously breaking the law with like proroguing of Parliament, and you know, Priti Patel saga. You know, why the hell is Priti Patel even allowed you know, anywhere near the office of cabinet after what she did? That should be, you know, her dead in the water. Not only that, but Gavin Williamson as well. You know, after telling people our secrets, two people whose their political career should essentially be dead in the water, and yet here they are, key ministers of this government. says so much about the state of our country that's gotten into. And we do need to really do something about this, and really the only way we're going to be able to do it is to push for a change in our voting system. That's why I've said before, you need to, if you are in the UK and you really do want to change, you know, UK politics for the better, then I highly recommend you join the Labour for PR campaign, because we really do need to change our electoral system. And quite frankly, we cannot leave it up to someone like Nigel Farage to be leading that call, because when his new party does come out, in what shape or form you know, it decides to take, that is one of the things that Nigel Farage will be pushing. And it is not going to be good. It is not going to be good if Nigel Farage is the one leading that charge, because very more than likely, it will be built to essentially favour, well, the Tory party, essentially. Well, yeah, this is what we're talking about, how we need a two-party legislative body. Technically we do at the moment, but of course we don't elect them. They are raised to peerage and then dispatched to the House of Lords by the Queen. And to be honest, as much as I do not like the House of Lords, I am really thankful that we've had it for the past couple of years, because I'll tell you what, the Lords, some of their guys in there may be like 80 plus years old and, you know, falling asleep, and will have debates that are so eye-wateringly boring that, you know, they fall to sleep on the chairs even long after their session has ended. I am so glad that we have them, because that has been the only place where Brexit and its you know, effects on the UK have actually been discussed. So I am so glad, so glad that we had them, because I'll tell you what, without the House of Lords, and if it had just been Parliament, we'd be in a lot worse position now. But there are, like I say, as we've said before on this, there are really two options. We can either go for a full reform, of the House of Parliament, and get that changed from a first past the post to proportional representation. That would be good, yes. That would definitely change politics. Or we do the House of Lords and get that changed to a proportional representation style election system. That will once again have a dramatic change on our politics. Like I say, either one of those two things, if we can achieve that, will dramatically change our politics. Oh yeah, and a written constitution. Because yeah, like I say, the Brits have been, well, we've really been flying by the seat of our pants for many years on the basis that, you know, successive governments would essentially trust to our unwritten constitution and follow the rules. However, Boris Johnson has shown that is not the case. So, well, that is a good point. Who gets to write the constitution? Whoever's in charge will probably get to write the constitution. Essentially, what would be better, really, is not rewriting the constitution, but just basically saying, okay, we have this unwritten constitution, let's all just finally put it down on a piece of paper first, and then let's make changes from there. I think that would be the best way to go about it. But it's just how you do that, of course. And of course, now we've reached our wonderful halfway point. So, oh wow, 145 people. I hadn't realised we had that many people in. Thank you all for joining me today. Please do hit that like button. It does help out not only the stream but the channel a lot. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page if you would like to become my Patreon. And there's also a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, should you like to buy me a coffee. And thank you to all the people that have supported me through those donations. Yeah, thank you very much. And also thank you to all the people who do just press that like button. You know, your support is just as important to me as someone who does donate money as well. So thank you to both types of people. Your support is very, very much appreciated, and always incredibly humbling to see that, you know, I'm being supported this much. You know, thank you for doing that. It means so much. Any news on what you'd like to do on Patreon? I still don't know. That's the thing. I still don't know. Like I say, I've got a very, very cheap Patreon rate of just £1 a month. So, so if you'd like, again, like I say, if you'd like to just do that, then, you know, thank you. But I'm still trying to decide what I'm going to do with my Patreon, because I'd like to, you know, give people something in return for, you know, supporting me so much. But it's just I just don't know what I'd do at this moment in time. Oh, thank you very much to Mendork. That's how you say it. Thank you very much for that super chat. That might be an idea. £1 for adblock absolution. Well, I've been thinking about. Here's for my coffee. Thank you very much for that. I will absolutely get one. Certainly after this. I have been thinking about starting a YouTube membership system, essentially at the same levels as my Patreon one. And essentially one of those would be the ad block free option. Or what I would call the what would it call? I don't know. Ad block absolution. That's it. But yes, like I say, thank you very much for all the people who do support me. I'm absolutely blown away, to be honest. But thank you so much to the people that do. So anyway. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It's not available in all countries though. Well, that's what I might have to start doing. I might just start uploading my videos to my Patreon page so that people can see them on there as well as on YouTube, and then at least you do have an ad-free option there. So that'll be, I suppose that'll be something that I can definitely offer. That's actually that's an interesting question someone's asked there. Amsterdam Dude, has there been considerable change in Bojo's behaviour since coming left to take, or is his new position as lead horseman of the apocalypse? There's certainly no one that has replaced Cummings. In fact, his person who's been branded his protege has actually been also left. So that was certainly a turn up. Not only has Cummings left, but the person who was, you know, the second Cummings, shall we say, has also left. So yeah, the battle for Boris, shall we say, is in full swing, I'd say. But it's just an interesting swing as to really where it would go. Oh, I must say, these guys look so bedraggled this morning. He's so wet through, but good on them, because I think they were in desperate need for a wash. But yeah, ponies. That's why. See, so many secret pony lovers. This is why I need to call this stream Politics and Ponies, because you know, that's what I know a lot of you are here secretly for. You're not here for the politics, you're just here for the ponies. But yeah, so going forward, I think we've got another interesting really question: what to really talk about when it comes to what are Labour going to do in this? Because Labour are in an interesting position, because if Boris should come forward essentially as the with a deal or with something, then he will the Labour will have to do something about it. It's just a question of which way they'll go. And a second, we've got some questions here. So, Dutch news reporter last night on the giant queues and trucks at the channel caused by British businesses stockpiling goods ahead. Stockpiling goods ahead. Yeah, it's not good. Not good at all. And it's it's going to be it's really not going to be good. But yeah, a lot of companies are trying to stockpile as much as they possibly can. Well, it's also going to have a big effect on the UK as well, but also because I know you'll want more. Don't say I don't give you anything. I do. You ask for ponies, and I give you more ponies. Yeah. Yes, Rumpelstiltskin. I think we are unfortunately headed for a no deal. I think it really is the worst of all possible outcomes, and unfortunately, there's going to be so many bad things happen. So things that we have predicted, so many things that we have said about, the border, tariff rates, regulations that are going to cause so many trouble and so much trouble for so many British businesses. Some that are on their knees at this moment in time because of the coronavirus. I mean, if you think about this in one way, small businesses and even medium-sized businesses are the backbone, really, of the British economy. And they just haven't been supported through this at all. I have a friend who works for like the local enterprising situation of our local council. And one of the things he said that really shocked me a couple of weeks ago, well, yeah, it was there a couple of months, well, 2 months ago now, was that some of the hotels in Barnsley were coming around and saying, we only have 3 weeks of worth of money left. What do we do? You know, that's truly shocking. But yeah, some of you may remember during the summer, if maybe you didn't join us during the summer, we used to go down here and sit up by the tree. That, as you can see, is quite impossible now. Yeah. So much rain and snow has just risen the water level quite significantly. But yeah, it's a no deal. It's an absolute no deal, and you know, this really is the worst of all possible outcomes. And I think we're going to have to really look back at this time and just try and figure out, how the hell did we end up here? Because I'll tell you this from someone who is, a Remain standpoint. Certainly wasn't our fault. We're not responsible for this. You know, we all voted to remain in the EU, and then afterwards we were constantly bringing up, why are we doing this? This is going to be terrible for our economy, terrible for the country. Oh, hello there, from Bashiro, I think that's how I say it. How the hell did this happen? And really, it is because this was an incredibly successful takeover by the far right, essentially of the Conservative Party. I mean, if you think about it, they're fulfilling all their objectives left, right and centre. And after Brexit, that's going to get even more... Oh, I dread to think what we're going to see next year. I really are. I really am. It's going to be absolutely an absolute nightmare. Oh yes, Debenhams closing down. Yes, that's another thing that happened. Arcadia, one of the biggest high street shopping retailers in the UK, responsible for not only just Debenhams, but Topshop and what's the other one that they're in charge of? There's another one. It's going to be absolute. It's just going to be absolute chaos. It really is, and there's been so many job losses from them just going under. And yet the guy, Philip Green, you know, his yacht, shall we say, could essentially pay for all his workers, which is, again, astronomical amount of money. His yacht is worth something about 30 million, and yet the bill for all these unpaid workers is going to go unpaid is something like 10 million. And yet if he sold his yacht, could pay for it. It's just a shame that they can't go after his assets. I think that will be a true sense of justice. But of course, Arcadia is a incorporated company, so you know, he'll be protected, unlike the many thousands of people who work for him. Yeah, it's none of it's good, but yeah, this is what we have when we have a government who just really doesn't care about the people in this country. Anyway, someone's been asking a question. Hold on. So, Barkan Stefan Valadin says, Bolhatman, do you think talks will be unlocked today after PM talks with von der Leyen? And when do you think he needs to agree it so they can have it signed for the 17th of December, the last day of Parliament sitting? Oof. Not anytime soon, because it relies on the deadlock being broken. That's the first thing. Of course, if there's no deadlock broken, you are looking at massive economic damage. It's not going to be good. It's really not going to be good. But I very much doubt that this phone call, shall we say today, is going to leave the situation, unless Boris somehow asks for an extension, which is very unlikely, but not fully 100% impossible. He may do. He may be persuaded by, shall we say, calmer heads, although it's difficult to say who is the calmer head in the government at the moment, that quite frankly it's just not worth it. You've got, for example, the Northern Research Group, all the Tory MPs newly elected in the North, crying out in absolute dismay because there was a poll done recently about, of all the people campaigning, did you vote Tory? And if they said yes, would you vote Tory again at the next election? And without no surprise to anyone, this survey came back that moreover than about, I think it was like 65% of them would not vote Tory again, and said that it was just a one-off thing. Interesting times ahead in the UK. That is without a doubt, my friends. And it's not going to be up, let me tell you that. And I'm so happy that a lot of you have been talking about Empire 2.0 and mentioning about like the potential, the Brexiteers talking about the union between like Australia, New Zealand, Canada. That is never going to happen. Never going to happen. Like I say, even if we do end up doing that, it's what form of this does this take? And by the looks of it, the Brexiteers want to be in control of this union. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, India, all of the former colonies are just going to turn around and just say, no. There's no way is that going to happen. But again, this is just part of the fantasy dream that the Brexiteers have. Yeah, that is next week. The internal market bill goes back to Commons next week with its law-breaking clauses put back in. And of course, the financial bill, which again also breaks the internal market. Not the internal market, the withdrawal agreement. It's it really is game over. Even if they pass those, there's no chance of them getting through the House of Lords, because the House of Lords have already said, if you send us back the internal market bill with that exact same clauses in, we are going to vote it down. And bear in mind, that vote was one of the biggest significant defeats the House of Lords has ever dealt to a government. So it's unbelievable. This is where we are. This is where we are. Our government run by incompetents, con men, and just people that think how the world is run, because this is really one of the problems. You know, all these Tory MPs and the people in charge are they're putting forward ideas they think should work according to their ideology, and for some reason it's just not working. And it's not, and they're not going to turn around and think, why isn't my ideology working? Maybe I should re-examine my ideology. No, these people are just going to double down. And I certainly worry next year, that already poor people in this country and unemployed people who are going to take an absolute battering next year. Because one of the things, this is why I want to get Britannia Unchained, because the opening preface of Britannia Unchained, written by most of these MPs who are now members of the cabinet, expressly state that the working class and the working people in Britain are lazy because they have too much regulations protecting them. Oh, so it's not going to go to the House of Lords then? Oh, well. Yeah, we are screwed. Oh, dear. Yeah, we are screwed. Yeah, if that's true that they're not going to go back to the House of Lords, but I think they should, because they need royal assent. The only way they're going to do that is through the House of Lords, or if they do a... what do they call it now? The Parliament... I can't remember now, but they do a special type of vote, and they're going to have so many people approve it. So... yeah, finance bills never go to the House of Lords, right? Yeah, if that's the case, then yeah, that's well, that's just going to enrage the EU even more. You know, negotiations rely on good faith between the two parties, and at this point, Britain has, or the UK, should we say, has just, you know, it's blown all the good faith out of the water. I mean, I've said this multiple times today, but sometimes when we're discussing some of these things, I just don't know what to say in response to them, because I just can't believe that we have such an irresponsible government doing this. But this is what happens when you drink the Kool-Aid of populism and Brexit itself. You know, Brexit was built on policies that just don't even exist. We can't even talk about post-Brexit policies because there are none. I worry next year. I really, really do. And I would genuinely love, really, really would love to tell you there's going to be some sort of good news happen next year, but there really isn't. And you know, unfortunately, we're going to be covering this fallout, and as I've said before, this is just the end of the beginning. So Brexit has really yet to truly begin, and it's already causing so much damage. Not only that, we are coming out and going into Brexit in the worst time possible, in an international crisis where every country in the world is suffering from, you know, the coronavirus. And now, not only are we suffering from that, but we are suffering from the worst depression in more than 300 years. True, at least it's not raining. Oh, I suppose there is that to look forward to. But yeah, I tell you now, next year, these good morning walks are just not going to be good, because I'm going to have almost no good news to give you. I'm probably going to have numerous, government foul-ups and just incompetence to talk about you with. But yeah, I just can't believe it. But here we are. So how do we hold these politicians to account? Well, first things first, write to them. I've written to my MP more this year than I ever have in my entire life. I've constantly wrote to him about, how Brexit is going to affect Barnsley, the impact it's going to have. And he has written back on occasion and said, I appreciate your worrying, but, I'm doing my best on behalf of Barnsley and the people of South Yorkshire, because Dan Jarvis is not just the MP for Barnsley, he's also the mayor for the Sheffield City region. And that he is trying to, quote, do his best on behalf. And yet, the man has continuously voted for Brexit, so there's that. I mean, there is something I could actually do to really piss off Dan Jarvis, and that is I could join the local Labour Party, and then potentially before the next election, I could try and challenge him for leadership, for not leadership, do a challenge to his standing as Barnsley MP, potentially. That's going to require a lot of work, but it is not beyond the realms of possibility to do. Of course, the thing is that, no one in, of course, like the political landscape of Barnsley knows who I am, so I'd have a lot of work to do, because I have to do some serious networking and schmoozing along the party lines and find out who's who. And of course, I might have to deal with a lot of, should we say, internal people basically saying it's not your time to run. Interesting time. But I've also got a huge disadvantage against me, because Dan Jarvis is a long-time standing MP, so there's a lot of work to do against him. There is also the fact that he was in the army as well, so I've got that running against me. So it will be an uphill struggle, but I'm not going to say I'm going to do it. But yeah, it could be incredibly hard to do. What's this flash mood? They should create a shared committee for distributing a resolution and subsidised fishermen during the 5-year transition period. Yeah, possibly. So, yeah, like I say, and I always do say, do write to your local MP, because there's a lot of people who think that doesn't have an impact on your MP. It does. Very, very rarely do MPs actually get written to. So I always advocate, write to your MP, even now, even if they are pro-Brexit. Like, ask them to explain their justification for doing this to your town, and explain, because there's lots of information and data out there how your town has benefited from EU membership, and just say, one of the things you can say is, yeah, I understand that you're going to do Brexit for the referendum and whatever, and I disagree with you doing that, but why on earth are you going to do Brexit now during this time period? And don't be angry in your letters, be respectful, and more than likely you'll get a response. It may be incredibly condescending sometimes, because I've seen some that my friend from Wakefield has written to his MP, who's a Conservative MP, and they've been incredibly condescending. So yeah, there's that we can do. The other thing is join join groups. So for example, there are still pro EU groups there. I'm a member of the South Yorkshire for Europe group, that's part of the wider whole of the March for Change. Can't remember what the sort of called, but yeah, it is possible. Protest, always good to hold your MPs accountable, but it's, make YouTube videos about this, tell people about this, about what's going on in the UK, make other people in the UK aware of what's going on, which is why I always say to share my videos, because it does share a message that's important of what's going on in the UK, because there's so many people in the UK that are just politically illiterate. And I wish that the UK population was like half, not even half, but just a third aware of just what was going on in Parliament and politics as the people in France are. And even if they were just to take on that little political activity, things can change. It's just, you've got to get people off their asses and realizing how and where and when to vote. So a lot of people don't realize that you can have an effect on who your MP is, but you've got to be a member of that particular party. So it's just how you do it. So I think we're coming to the end of today's morning walk. So I always said we're open for questions at this time, so get your questions in before we finish today. And of course, while you get your questions in, I'm going to promote myself a little bit. Thank you so much to the people watching us today. Please do remember to hit that like button. If you are new to the channel, do also hit that subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page, as well as one-off donation links should you like to support the channel in that way. And thank you, as always, very much to the people who do support my channel that way. And of course, just hitting the like button as well. So thank you very much to that. Anyway, there was a question. So from Subduction Asylum, do you think the EU and UK will both compromise so that they can get a deal? Because I've heard that EU-UK citizens' workers' rights aren't protected if there is a no-dealism. And I'm afraid that there will be riots. Do you agree? There's already been a bill passed that already basically says that moves EU law into British law, so we don't have to worry about that. What we do have to worry about is essentially next year is the Tories trying to remove those very workers' rights, because as I mentioned about Britannia Unchained, they are more than willing to be able to get rid of workers' rights. It's just a matter of them well doing it. And oops, someone donated as well. Who's that? Paz News. Thank you very much, Paz News. Your support is much appreciated. So yeah, they are protected if there is a no deal, but it's if the Conservative government, and bear in mind they do have a majority, do try to change anything. And as for riots, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. I mean, the government have done 2 preparedness documents saying that they are preparing for mass general strikes and rioting in general. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Really isn't. Dude, what do you think of the 3 million strong general strike in India and the lack of reporting on this movement? World-changing event. Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces on that, and I think that it's absolutely amazing, to be honest, what's been going on out there. And you are right, it hasn't been reported, because I don't think that a lot of, shall we say, news and that type of stuff does, you know, tend to get to the UK. But I know that if you do look into what's been going on in India, Modi has been doing so much bad stuff just going on. But yeah, it's I think that has the potential of spreading. How far, it's difficult to say. But I do hope that they do achieve their objective of removing Modi. That I believe is their primary objective, and I do hope they achieve that, because he's once again another popularist who got in and has been doing some very bad stuff in India. But again, I'm not an Indian politics channel, so while I am aware of what's going on there, there are definitely more people who are better informed than me on this subject. So if there is someone who you know is better informed on that subject, who does videos on YouTube, and please do let them know. Oh, you're having a sniff, you're having a bite. So Stuart, I don't know if I said that. I was going to say Stuart, but it's not. Tell me a bit more about what is the new immigration bill. I'm confused. Does EU citizens can still work/come apply for pre-settled status in December? They do not have the points or not? As for the new immigration bill, it all depends on whether you have the points to do it. Again, I'm not sure how many points you would need, but it primarily is quite weighted against immigrants, essentially, unless you have what is called an essential job, like you're a doctor or a nurse, or you have some sort of very highly specialised skill, you ain't going to get in. As for the EU, you can't do it unless you've got status, which then puts you on the path to UK citizenship. But again, I don't know about that. But I do know that's that path. But again, UK citizenship is again, never had to do it. But hello. But yeah, there are lots of rules and regulations. There are lots of information out there. My advice is contacting an immigration lawyer if you are going to try and do that type of stuff. They will definitely be able to get you more information about these new rules and what it is going to be involved moving to the UK. But of course, as I've said before, these new immigration rules, even though they do look tough, I think are going to be very quickly weakened on the sly, because Britain is really addicted, as we've talked about before, how addicted we are to cheap foreign labour, and well, the Conservatives essentially shut the door on that now, and lots of businesses are going to be very annoyed about that when they can't, shall we say, get their fruit pickers and order pickers in from the EU like they used to. Will CETA be legal after a no deal? Not 100%, but I think it will be, because we have agreed with Canada in principle that we will continue trading with them on EU rules. So as long as we keep those EU rules, there is potential that that deal is kept. But like I say, Canada is in control of this deal, and they are very, very likely, should there be any breaks in this deal, changes in regulation or anything like that, it's very likely that they will just say no more rollover deal. Like I say, this rollover deal is in place to try and get a free trade agreement, and the chances of that happening are very, very slim. And this, again, you saw how much they were praising the Japan deal. You can expect something along the similar lines when it comes to trying to get a Canadian deal. So anyway, thank you all for... Oh, you've come to join us, haven't you? And say goodbye. Oh, off it goes. So anyway, thank you all for joining me today. It's been absolutely fantastic as normal. Please do hit the like button on the way out. And yes, thank you once again for joining me. It's been an absolute fantastic time once again. Do remember to join us next week for more another Good Morning Walk. And of course, do watch out for the videos coming out next week. And of course, do remember... oh, well, Hatman, I do ask to answer my last question, please. Where is that? To be honest, I'm not 100% sure, Daniel. Like I say, it's not my expertise when it comes to that. That does sound very much more like a question you need to ask a lawyer, an immigration lawyer, who has that type of expertise. But yes, you will need to get that information from a lawyer. Yeah, you do need, because I don't know that information. Like I say, any information I give to you could be wrong, and I don't want you to go on that information because of what I said when I don't know. Do that. Like I say, go contact a lawyer. They will be able to tell you more information about that. And like I say, I don't want to give you or tell you any information that could be wrong, and then you do it and you get in trouble for it. So I don't want to give you any information that could be wrong. Like I say, go speak to your brother. You've said you've got a brother. Speak to your brother. Get in contact with an immigration lawyer. See what they say. That's the best advice I can give you in that. So anyway, yes, thank you very much for everyone for joining me. It's been an absolutely fantastic time, as always. Have a good weekend. If you can't be safe, be sensible. Enjoy yourselves. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll all see you next week for another Good Morning Walk. And like I say, Daniel, does look like you definitely need to go talk to an immigration lawyer. That definitely seems to be the way you go. So anyway, thank you, and always, we'll see you all soon next time.